Yaksha is fictitious. you know.
So he very clearly escaped the question and we'll give it to him. Now we come to the second book, which is, as you can see, it's on the table. It's Ritu Samhara. Again, Kalidas's original work, beautifully translated by Abhay K. As you know about the 6 seasons in India, Grishma, Varsha, Sharad, Hemant, Shishir, and one is the last one.
Monsoon.
Yeah. And both of you, in some terms, are eco-poets. We have poets and we have very few eco-poets who care to talk about climate, changes, geography, earth, and talk about it with great passion. But when I was going through the book, and thank you very much that you've translated a Sanskrit epic in English, because I think this is the time of the millennials and the Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and for all of them, or for this entire fraternity, this book is a beautiful gift. I would not have been able to understand Ritu Samhara if it was not for this beautiful translation. However, when I was going through it, at many places I found there are very intriguing description of women. So please allow me to read a few, just a few lines where women have been put in aesthetically yet erotic light. Through all of the seasons, 6 seasons, women have been spoken about as objects or personification of lovemaking. For instance, it's page number 98, and on this page, Kalidas, and this is the translation, which says, another woman, rapturous after making love, inspects nail marks on her body and her luscious lips, gleefully puts on her bodice and lets her soft dark hair ringlets loose to cover her fluttering eyes. Other charming women, weary from prolonged lovemaking, let out soft, joyous sighs, rubbing oils and pastes on their nipples and in the deep creases of their thighs. And this is just not, these are not just the 2 verses. More than 50% of the book, of the verses, focus a lot on the women body and the way they would take to lovemaking. During your research, were you also intrigued by this observation? Because yours is a translation as it is. So did this fact startle, or did it sort of intrigue you?
No, I was very fascinated because Kalidasa, why Kalidasa is so great, such a great poet, because he combines the 2 eternal themes, which always were and which always will be. The one is nature and another is sensuality. So these, and Kalidasa's genius lies in, bringing them together in unparalleled way. So I was delighted, in fact, that such a great poet has written so sensuously about, human bodies. And it's not only women; he also writes about men, actually. Mm-hmm. But as women are more beautiful. So he has, I think, devoted more time to them. And
so did you face the challenge of, while translating, did you face the challenge of putting it across in a very aesthetic way and not at the cost of sounding erotic?
Why not? There's a difference between sensuality and sensual, sensuous, and erotic. There are different degrees. And I have tried to have the balance as much as I could, staying true to the original. So, and let's face it, we should have Kalidasa as he has written, we should not try to make him, cut him to our times. So, and that's winter actually, what happens in winter, he says, and look, it's the coming together of nature and sensuality. It's just not, those 2 verses it would seem that they are like independent, but they are not.
They're
See
not.
how it begins. Winter comes alive in the fields, full of ripened paddy, my love. Demoiselle cranes let out sweet cries. exhorting lustful women to lose themselves in the crazy sport of lovemaking. And this is 5th century AD. It's comforting to keep windows shut, fires lit, and bask lazily under the sun, wearing heavy garments. Men enjoy this season in the company of grown-up women. Neither sandal-paced, cool like moonbeams, nor breath chilled by frost, nor rooftops under the silver moon delight people's heart.
Yes. So it has a context. Obviously, wherever Kalidas ji describes the scenes of lovemaking or describes men and women, obviously there is a context to it. But I was startled by the fact that it would have been quite a challenge to translate such profound texts in an aesthetically in a very poetic form. So very well done on that.
Thank you.
Also, it traverses through the 6 seasons. Were there some fascinating facts that during your research about the 6 seasons that you would like to share with us?
I found that each season has a different mood. Like each ritu has a different mood. And for example, summer, the focus is more on cool pools. How to take bath in cool pools and enjoy the rooftops. I mean, everything is there. You must read Kalidasa for sure. It's our heritage. Each one of you, I would urge you to read Kalidas. These two poems. And look at rain. When it comes to rain, the season of rains approaches my love like a king. His royal cavalcade in full ceremonial procession. Dark clouds, his war elephants in their rutting season. Glowing flashes of lightning, his tapering victory flag, and roaring thunder, the sound of beating war drums. Oh. Welcomed by the crowd of lovers with maddening cheers. This is how a rainy season enters. And then it's again it comes to like the sky is overcast with dark clouds all around, glowing deeply like the petals of dark blue lotuses. Somewhere dark like hips of black coal, elsewhere like the dark nipples of pregnant women.
So there are lots of analogies.
Then he then describes these beautiful details of nature, like jet fragments. The green grass rises, spreading its blades to catch raindrops. Red Indragopka insects perch on fresh leaf buds bursting forth from the Kandali plants. The earth smiles like an elegant lady, draped in nature's colorful jewels.
Thank you so much for reciting these beautiful verses. How much time did it take you to do the entire research, and when you were satisfied enough that this book is now presentable as a translation?
So it was the time of pandemic, and I had more free time to do it, and it all happened with pretty, I think, in a succession of a year and a half, one after another. I ended up translating because there was nothing else to do. And I realized that when you have all these things, poetry is not for a fast life. It's poetry is for, you can only release poetry when you have slowed yourself down. You have to in poetry each word is important, each sound is important, and you won't be able to pay adequate attention to them until you have slowed down and your mind is not rushing from one task to another. So this one, Kalidasa has to be enjoyed slowly. Each stanza is full of joy
Yes.
and peace.
And there's some stanzas over which you would want to stop reading and wait
Yeah.
until when you do not know. Sometimes it could be days, it could be a week.
Right.
So it's very absorbing and consuming. Also, that how do you balance the life of a diplomat and a poet at the same time? How easy or difficult it is?
Being a poet is it's the way of life, you know. I mean, I was just listening to the previous speaker and I realized that I have the most sattvic life because I wake up early in the morning, with Surya Namaskar, do yoga every day, you know, and you know I'm asleep by 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I get 8 hours of sleep and wake up in the morning. So, so it's I'm a vegetarian, you know. So I was realizing that I don't need to read his book because I'm doing exactly what he wants us to do. So no coffee for me. I feel really bad after having coffee, but tea is good. Tea is fine. So so it's I think you know poetry is a way of life. I mean, being a poet does not mean publishing books actually.
How?
I mean,
That's so beautifully put, really.
being a poet means how you see the world actually. So a poet, I would say, sees the world differently than rest of us, and that's why you know. I mean, you know, when I write these lines, like I wake up with your thoughts, you know, and someone whom I have not seen, you know. So it's all imagination, right? And it only happens when you are like completely free. Your mind is like no. I mean, my other book is called Celestial, and in Celestial I take you to all the 88 star constellations in the universe, and.
So we have a story behind it. Why don't you let the story out? I was reading somewhere and there you mentioned that you were staring at the sky during your college days and you spotted the constellation of Orion.
Right.
And then it took you to Locksley Hall, the famous
Yeah.
poem by Alfred Tennyson.
Right.
And then you thought, why don't we have something like that here,
True.
which is indigenous to us?
So it happened that in college I used to carry a poem in my wallet, and it was few lines from a poem called Locksley Hall by Lord Alfred Tennyson. And it was actually about, you know, an ideal world, you know, the federation of the world and so on, you know, in which there is complete peace, there is no war, and mankind is, you know, engaged in commerce and this. So when I was in Madagascar, you know, when you have lots of time, you know, lots of things happen actually. When you are like not being stressed to do one thing and another. So I ended up reading this whole poem, and then there I found the mention of the constellation of Orion and the stars, the star signs of Pleiades. And then I thought that why not to write a poem which is, you know, which is a rhyming poem of 100 stanzas, because Locksley Hall is 97 stanzas. And then I thought of of you know a plot and what should I do. So I thought of someone on earth is looking for his beloved who is playing a game of hide and seek in star constellation. You know, moving from one star constellation to another, and you have to find her or him, you know, whatever. So and one night, you know, I woke up, and in Madagascar, you know, where I lived, the sky was like so bright, like you could see the whole the stars as we used to see in our childhood, and in India. And one night I saw that the constellation of Scorpius was like shining bright right in like outside my balcony. It was almost trying to enter, you know. And then at 2 a.m. at night, you know, I mean, I just woke up and saw like for a few minutes, and I was like, those lines came, you know. I wake up, you know, awake each night. I savor a starlight, and then I thought of, you know, I thought of a plot that how to take it forward, and then the next line, awake each night, I savor starlight, before the blinding sunlight obliterates you from my sight. And then Orion used to be, all of you I think can see the Orion, the constellation of Orion, which is the most prominent. You can see from here also in some dark places. And then I thought of Orion's, you can recognize it by the belt, the Orion's belt, which has, and so this is how the poem moved, and I thought of bringing all the 88 constellations which are visible from Earth into this poem, and in a rhyming way. I mean, I don't write rhyming poetry, but this was the first time I wrote a rhyming poem of 100 stanzas.
Nice. That's so good.
So I was telling you about being a poet. What does it mean to a poet? It means completely, looking the world in a different way.
So as I have, with your permission, people, as poets, like Abhay Ji is a poet, I'm a poet. All of you who like reading poetry and like falling for emotions are probably poets from heart. So they keep asking us कि आप में और एक आम इंसान में क्या फर्क है? तो उस पर छोटी सी एक बात याद आती है. When I look at the moon, I don't see it like a satellite. I see the faces of love in it. When I see a rose, I don't see stamens and pistils and florals and petals. For me, a rose could be a reminder of so many beautiful memories, or a torture, I don't know. So, whenever you look at a thing and not see it as it is scientifically, you become a poet, there and then. And in that sense, I think all of us are poets. We connect with inanimated objects in a different way. Chai is a love language for all of us. How? When? Kya ho gaya? It was supposed to be a beverage. So in some way, we all of us are poets, and obviously the kind of poetry that you do and that you talk about needs a lot of slowing down and immersion. Yeah.
Also, I think, the advantage of being a poet is that you don't need much to be happy. You will see a star and you are happy. You see a hoopoe and you are happy. Chand pe, you see the moon rising and you are like, wow, I mean, this is the best thing. Like the most, what makes me most joyous every day is watching the sunrise and the sunset. I do not need anything for, it's such a joy. So,
absolutely, it's sheer delight. You also have the privilege of being the youngest IFS officer in the country. Why don't you tell us something about your childhood days and how and what poetry meant to you during that period?
Well, when I was in class 4th, I remember reading poems of Ramdhari Singh Dinkar.
Oh, wow.
And his Rashmi Rathi particularly is so amazing. I mean, the sound of it, if you read Rashmi Rathi, the sound stays with you. And it reverberates from time to time wherever you are. So, and surprisingly later I found that even diplomacy was part of it. दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम रखो अपनी थैली तमाम हम उसी में खुशी से खाएंगे परिजन पर असी न उठाएंगे दुर्योधन वो भी दे न सका आशीष समाज की ले न सका उल्टे हरि को बांध में चला जो था सामने सारथी चला तो diplomacy also begins there, in poetry. For me, you asked me about the balancing thing, For me, they complement, poetry takes me to diplomacy, diplomacy takes me to poetry. And in fact, I have written about the commonalities actually between poetry and diplomacy and how sort of they complement me for each other. The two complement each other. I mean, poetry is essential language. And you try to, you practice brevity in the sense you try to say more in fewer words. So does diplomacy. Poetry is about telling but telling slant, as Emily Dickinson says. And so is diplomacy. It's not a direct language. As poets and diplomats, you deal with words, and at least both the art forms, and I treat diplomacy also as an art form, teach you at least to choose your words very carefully.
That's so true. Both in diplomacy and in poetry, you need to choose your words very carefully. That's so true. But for poets, we live in very strange times, Abhay. Of late, the social media promotion and the worldly display of poetic abilities has taken over the academic and art form that poetry was meant to be. How much of social media promotion do you believe in? And do you really think that a poet needs to go out, stand, perform, get under the spotlight, get visibility to be noticed?
I think, to each to his own or her own, I think being a poet is being, you don't, it's more like a private experience, it's like a communion. When you are reading a poem alone, in solitude, it communicates to you differently than when you are reading a poem in public.
Okay.
So, and poetry has, poetry is everywhere actually. What you listen, Jai Hanuman Gyanagam Sagar, Jai Kapisti Huloko Zagar, also it's poem. Or when you wake up and read Gayatri Mantra, Om Bhur Bhuvah Swah Tat Savitur Varendra, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. That's also a poem. When the priest gets you married through mantras, when he gives you blessings, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschintu Bhav. That's the poem. When you listen to, Incredible India works on poetic principles. It has alliteration. Incredible India. So the jingles in the advertisement, the best ad writers, those who write advertisements, they are poets actually. The songs you hear appreciate so much, they are poems.
All lyricists are poets.
So poetry is everywhere. It's all pervasive. And some people say that, oh, I don't read poetry. I don't like poetry. But actually, you are consuming poetry. So much poetry everywhere.
That's so true. So, what is your message to the young poets?
I would say that read a lot. Because writing poetry is just 1%. You have to read. 99% of the work is to read poetry. And please read as much as you can, so that when you write, you are writing with full respect and homage to what has been written earlier. You are aware of what has been written earlier.
We roughly have about 10 to 15 minutes more. Yes, absolutely. So we have about 10-15 minutes more in our hand. I have a very, very quick set of questions for you, Abhay, of which I would like you to give an answer in just about a line. Okay?
That's the rapid fire.
Sort of, yes. It's like coffee with Kena. Coffee nahi hai yahan pe. So we'll do that, and then we'll open the house for question and answers very quickly. And that's our idea of understanding the person Abhay is. Okay. Quickly, your favorite 3 books that come to mind instantly.
Kalidasa's Ritu Samara, Ramtari Singh Dinkar's Rashmi, and Tagore's Gitanjali.
Lovely. Okay, now 3 poets, not the ones that you mentioned just now.
Wisława Szymborska from Poland, T.S. Eliot from US, UK, and Pablo Neruda from Chile.
Wow. One verse that's running through your mind right now.
Which verse?
Yeah, any. Which is in your mind right now?
You were mentioning moon, and I have a moon anthem. Anthem for the moon, and I have an anthem for all the planets on the solar system. But moon anthem, celestial diamond, primeval timepiece, cosmic lamppost, night soft kiss, seducing oceans, occulting sun, silver goddess lighting up heaven, mankind's great leap, ephemeral solace, a pit stop to explore the deep space, sensuous sentinel, sensuous sentinel, deep space. Alright, I'll leave here.
Wow, how do you remember all of that? My God. Okay, if you had one superpower to choose, what would that be?
Super?
Power.
To choose.
Yeah.
I would, to be able to have the freedom and peace to write.
Oh, wow. Okay. You don't have it right now?
I do, but I would like to have more.
Okay. What is that one thing about you that probably we do not know and that you can let off right now?
Well, I'm also an artist.
Oh.
And I would love to have an exhibition someday at IGNCA.
Okay. Which character from any book has stayed with you in mind for the longest time?
Well, I think, दो बैलों की कथा प्रेमचंद, so I think of Hira and Moti.
Yeah, lovely. And do you Google yourself?
Sometimes.
How often is that sometimes? Okay, toughest criticism that you received that hurt you a little.
Well, I think it's not the criticism which hurts you. I think it's the indifference to poetry,
Yes, we get that. And the best compliment.
Vijay Seshadri, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning poet, has called me a world poet.
Oh, wow. Okay. So do you have writing friends?
Writing friends?
Yeah, friends who you go to share your writing with or talk about.
Yeah, I have an editor who edits everything I write. So, so edits in the sense that I run that everything I write through this person.
Yeah, I read it. Chaitali Pandya.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, her name is Chaitali Pandya. She lives in Mumbai.
Yeah. Do you have a writing superstition?
Well, I think I'm able to finish the book faster when I start it from the end.
Huh? Wow.
Because I know, it's how it's going to end. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. A book that you wished you had written. You loved it
well,
so much.
I think that's 20 love poems and a song of despair by Neruda.
Yeah, okay. Second last question. What does this author do when she's not a poet or a diplomat?
I'm walking mostly in Lodi Garden or,
So
or any other garden. I'm a big nature.
Or maybe Khan Market.
Or I'm
Yeah,
signing
nice
books at very sense.
So we know where to get him then, if not here on the stage. And the last question. What is that one song that can be your life song?
Well, I have a life song actually. It's called Soul Song, and my first poem actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was always here as blowing wind or falling leaves, as shining sun or flowing streams, as chirping birds or blooming buds, as the blue sky or the empty space. I was never born. I didn't die.
Mic drop. So beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Abhay Ji. And now let's open the house for questions and answers. It's all yours.
Listening to you, I'm exhausted.
So you
So
poetically exhausted.
my question comes.
Could we have your name?
What are
The
you?
mic, yeah, mic.
So could we have your name?
What are you? I mean, if one word to describe you would be what? You are all over the place. Just what are you? A poet, a writer, a diplomat, blah 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 blah, and all that. So
I think I'm like a happy child of the universe, you know, having joy and I mean, while I'm here.
That's nice as a poetry again. I said one word.
One word poet.
Okay, accepted. Now, from the two of you, is it true that we all poets are misunderstood most of the time?
Actually, we don't care, sir, even if we are.
Yes or no?
I think so, yes.
She's like a
Yes.
diplomat being influenced by you, so
Yes.
let's not go into that.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Right.
Touche. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Right. If you could also let us know your name, ma'am.
You want
Mike.
I think we had a lovely session, so please give a
Yes.
thanks to us.
Hello, my name is Aisha and it was pleasure meeting you. So
Aisha also sounds like poetry.
it is.
Well, every word is a poem.
For poet, everything is poetry. So as a young kid who is writing and like doing poem, so one piece of advice or one piece of wisdom you would like to share that inspire as a youth.
You want to
Both of you can give one.
one piece of wisdom for writing.
Yeah, as a youth writer, like somebody who's growing. Like I am myself a poet, my sister is also a poet. So something like which will inspire us, and one piece of wisdom we can like take away sort of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that you know, one word would be like read, because writing comes from reading. So most of us, you know, don't read enough. So I would say everybody, you know, please read. You know, that's one word which I would like to leave with you. Read. You know, I remember James Baldwin, you know, who says that, you know, I thought the problems of the world, you know, were I mean, everybody had huge problems until I read Dostoevsky and Dickens and realized that, you know, I mean, my problems are, you know, very small. Actually, people have already gone through so much. So, so it's the reading which makes us wise. And in today's world, when you know, when social media has reduced our attention spans, and we are only, you know, we are going into the reel mode where reels are being watched. Reading, the space for reading is shrinking, but reading, you know, acts at different levels, and it enhances our cognitive, not only cognitive abilities, but also, you know, deepens our understanding of this world. So I would say read.
And if I were to add to what Sir says, obviously reading is the foundation. But please don't chain yourself with what others are saying. Get too roots about what others are saying. Just write. किसी भी पोएम की क्रिएशन के लिए उसका लिखना ज़रूरी है. तो कभी ये मत सोचना कि मैं जो लिख रही हूँ इसमें वजन कम है, लोग क्या कहेंगे, ये बाहर कोई पढ़ेगा तो क्या सोचेगा. No, just liberate it from all honesty and all your heart, and do seek feedback. It helps.
And become fearless, you know, which is my name means fearless, but become fearless, because you know it's all about, I think one of the key things we come across is you know, always come across in our life is fear of everything. What will others say? What will critics say? What will teachers say? What will parents say? You know, Neruda, for example, his parents were very discouraging. You know, they did not want him to write any poetry. So he changed his name to Neruda and wrote poems.
We look forward to reading your work.
Thank you so much. Really.
There's a question from the back.
Hi, I'm Dishant. So I have two questions for you, sir. One is, you know, what do you do, what do you suggest for a writer's block, like how to get away from that? And this is one. Second, a big chunk of the session went to Meghdootam. So Meghdootam was written at the ghats of Shipra River, Shipra. Kabir wrote all his, most of his Kabir's work is at the ghat of Banaras, or Ramcharitmanas was at the ghats of Banaras, or Arundhati Roy wrote a lot of small things at the ghats of Narmada. So how much the impact of this, when you are close to the nature or these test places where you sit and then do, some great workouts. So two set of questions I have.
Both brilliant questions. He actually wrote monsoon when he was posted in Madagascar.
So that itself is an answer.
Yeah, monsoon and also celestial. I could not have written monsoon or celestial or the book of Bihari literature, which is here, edited book, and a couple of other books if I was not in Madagascar, because places do. I could see the sky clearly there, and I could see the star constellations every night, and that's how inspiration came to write a poem about star constellations. So really, places do matter, and if you can find a quiet place anywhere, you should be able to write. But quiet actually comes from within. I used to write poems in Moscow metro while traveling. So I could find my quiet, amidst the crowd, and it was like perfectly. Nobody was really disturbing you. You could write your poem. So quiet also comes from within, but if you can find a place which inspires you, and the writer's block, writer's block, everybody faces writer's block. Right now I'm facing writer's block. So the best way to deal with it is to keep yourself inspired, keep yourself motivated, and find little discipline. I was listening to John Fosse recently, who had just won the Nobel Prize last year, and one advice he gave that and which I found very useful, is that when you wake up in the morning, you are coming from your dream state to the real world, and that's probably the best time to gather all your thoughts before the busy world takes over you. And I have started following since last few days, and I am able to produce something, slowly. So, and keep yourself de-stressed in the sense that, writing doesn't come if you are stressed.
Nice, thank you. Do we have more questions? One more?
We can have.
Two more?
We can have many.
Hi, I'm Shudhita.
Shobhita, did you say?
Shudhita.
Suchita.
Shudhita. Shudhita. It's Shudhita. It was a really pleasure having you guys over here. I just wanted to ask about something I was very curious about when you said that you write backwards. What is the gist about that? Like, what do you think when you write backwards? Like, even if a writer is there, so it's a back thought, no? Ki we'll start from the starting, and it's very common. Then what's your thought of process in writing from the backward?
Well, that means that, I was talking about, particularly of, I think, monsoon, So when you know the end thing, that what's going to happen in the end, it helps you to piece together, different steps, different stanzas towards the end. Also, see, in short poem, it does not happen that way. Poetry, you don't plan poetry in the sense that what's going to come, the next line. So, and that's the beauty and wonder of writing poetry, that you don't exactly know the next line. So, but when I was talking about the plots, like when you have, for example, when I was writing Celestial, I had this in mind that where I'll make them meet, make the two, one on Earth and in another who is traveling across the universe. So in which constellation they're going to meet, and what should be this constellation, So once you know that, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It becomes easier to fit in things, because you know the end game. So that's
Thank you so much.
And also, I think it's easier to do this with poetry than it would be with a sequential chapterization of a novel. That is slightly difficult to fathom. Poetry, you can play with verses.
Right. It's the play which gives you the most joy, not the publicity.
So I read a poet somewhere, and he said that when I write, I have a beginning, middle, and an end, not necessarily in that order.
I just love the way you speak. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One more question we had from the lady there.
Hello,
Yes.
sir.
What's your name, ma'am?
दीपमाला
दीपमाला जी, बताइए.
सर जैसे आपने कहा कि कालिदास आपके फेवरेट पोएट हैं तो जैसे आपको में ऐसा क्या लगा क्योंकि मैं भी साहित्य की स्टूडेंट रही हूँ तो आपने उनको क्यों चुना हालांकि उनको शेक्सपियर कहते हैं अपने यहाँ का और उनका ट्रोलिंग भी हुई है कुमार संभव के लिए उनकी तो आपको ऐसा उनमें ऐसा क्या लगा?
मुझे जो मतलब अद्भुत चीज लगी, मैंने बताया भी कि कालिदास का जो दो थीम है, जो 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 एक तो हो गया प्रकृति और दूसरा जो है सेंसुअलिटी, तो उसका जो कॉम्बिनेशन उन्होंने किया है वो अनपैरेलल्ड है. मतलब किस तरह से उसको साथ लाना है वो मैंने और किसी पोएट में नहीं देखा. और उनका जो अभी भी आप पढ़ेंगे कालिदास को तो वो लगता है कि वो हमारे कॉन्टेम्पररी हैं. तो कोई भी जो कालजयी रचना होती है उसमें ये खूबी होती है कि वो चाहे आप 5वीं शताब्दी में पढ़ें चाहे 21वीं शताब्दी में पढ़ें, लगता है कि वो तो हमसे एकदम डायरेक्ट बातें कर रहे हैं. आपने देखा, आपने सुना, कई लाइनें पढ़ी, और उसको अगर आप संस्कृत में पढ़ सकें तो और भी बहुत बहुत सुंदर है. अंग्रेजी में तो उसका जो मैंने अनुवाद किया है वो कुछ भी नहीं है उसके साथ. तो आप अगर उसको संस्कृत में पढ़ें तो बहुत ही आनंद आएगा, या उसको कोशिश करें कि क्योंकि संस्कृत पढ़ना बहुत मुश्किल नहीं है. जो हमारी सारी भाषाएं हैं, हिंदी हो या और भी बंगाली हो या उड़िया हो, सब संस्कृत से ही आती हैं. तो उसको पढ़ें. और कालिदास जो है बहुत ही महान कवि इसलिए हैं क्योंकि उनको पढ़ने में बहुत आनंद आता है.
More questions? Please, ma'am. Could we have the link?
Mic,
जी.
mic.
Is it safe to say that the poet is it comes to your help, in resolving or solving the conflicts which you face as a diplomat? Does that help?
Ekdam. I mean, I would say that being a poet makes me a better diplomat. And I'll give you examples for that. I worked in Nepal for 3.5 years. For 3 years in Brazil and 3.5 years in Madagascar. Before that in Russia as well for 5 years, both in St. Petersburg and in Moscow. And till today, I have friends there. So friends in the sense that they remember me, they want me to come back there and share their lives, their poems or anything. So I'm not sure all diplomats have this privilege, because as a diplomat your relations are mostly transactional. I need this, you need that, it's over. But as a poet, you have deeper connection, I would say. You have a deeper connect with another person, and the barrier goes down. So for example, I used to host a program called Poemandu in Kathmandu, Poemandu and Conversations, and there are several, people from different walks of life who generally not come to, if you host a hard diplomatic reception, would not come, but they would come to listen, to read their, share their thoughts. They would come to read a poem, and they would easily mingle with you. Same thing, I used to host a program called Chá com Letras in Brazil, Tea with Letters, and in Lalitana in Madagascar, and that made me, friends with who is who of, in these countries, and they all, it was. So what is diplomacy? If you are obviously trying to become a diplomat, you may not, it will be visible that you are trying that, but anything is successful when it is effortless. And poetry, that's why poetry is the best ambassador. It makes you friends effortlessly. And other way around also. I would not have written any of these books. You see, the alphabets of Latin America or the Eight-Eyed Lord of Kathmandu or Monsoon, if I was not a diplomat. So being a diplomat makes me a better poet.
Oh, how lovely. Very beautifully put. Thank you so much. सत्र की समाप्ति करते हैं यहाँ पर इन पंक्तियों से कि गोपाल दास नीरज जी की लाइन्स हैं। आत्मा के सौंदर्य का शब्द रूप है काव्य, आत्मा के सौंदर्य का शब्द रूप है काव्य, मानव होना भाग्य है, कवि होना सौभाग्य।